Hello and welcome to Indie Book Magic, a podcast that connects geek readers and writers in an open, lighthearted, and occasionally random environment. We're your friendly hosts, Janeen Ippolito and
H.L. Burke.
And today we have a special, awesome interview episode for you. And our special guest is Carrie Anne Noble. She is the author of The Mermaid's Sister and The Gold Sun through Amazon Skyscapes. And I just recently read The Gold Sun and completely loved it. And so since our theme this month, listeners, has been luck and wishes and destiny and fate, we were honored to have her on our show because especially her book, The Gold Sun, deals a lot with luck and misfortune and a very unfortunate destiny. But to tell you a little more about Carrie Anne, the wake of her checkered past as a theater student, restaurant hostess, certified nurse aide, and newspaper writer, Carrie Anne now writes novels and short stories, mostly for a young adult audience. She lives in the mountains of Pennsylvania with her tolerant husband, 4 charming children, 2 naughty cats, a not-so-bright dog, and some really not-so-bright chickens. The chickens do not live in the house. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, man. So, poor chickens. So, like in the winter, they're out in the cold?
Yes.
Yeah, I have a history of chicken trauma, which has come up in the past on this show. So they worry me.
The extent to my connection with chickens is mostly watching videos of them riding Roombas. So pretty much all I do with that. When not reading or writing, Carrie Anne enjoys sewing, attempting to garden, and having tea parties with friends, preferably Mad Hatter style, which is pretty much the best way to have a tea party, etc. So thank you so much for joining us on the show today, Carrie.
Thank you for having me.
So we are going to get right down to business, except that I kind of wanted to introduce something extra. Of course, listeners, you may not know out there, but we have invisible guests every time we do a podcast. Heidi, of course, has the infamous Pork.
Who sometimes will speak.
Yes. I have a variety of animals. Right now I have a poor, sad, stuffed platypus that for some reason has no front legs. I am not sure why, but it makes me feel really sad for him. He's like a little disabled platypus. And then Carrie actually has her own thing that she has many of. And what's that, Carrie?
Hedgehog.
Okay. And why hedgehogs?
I don't know. I just became fascinated with hedgehogs when I wrote my first fantasy book. And ever since then, I started collecting hedgehogs. And my whole office is kind of overrun by hedgehogs now.
It's good to have little buddies.
Yeah. You know, writing's a long, lonely process there. So
everybody needs a hedgehog.
Really can't argue with that one. That's pretty much a fact. So Heidi, you want to start us off on the interview?
I will. So Carrie, can you tell us a little bit about your latest publication, The Gold Sun?
Sure. The Gold Sun is about a 16-year-old boy named Tommen who lives in Ireland in the early 1800s. And he just wants to be a good guy, but he has this overwhelming urge to steal, and he just can't stop stealing all the time. And he comes to find out that he was cursed at birth to become a leprechaun. So he meets a girl called Eve who also has this same dilemma. And together they have to figure out how to beat the leprechaun's curse before they both end up being naughty, thieving leprechauns forever.
That is awesome.
Well, your stories, these tend to evoke a strong feeling from earlier eras. I know The Gold Sun does that, and The Mermaid's Sister also does that. Do mythology and other tales inspire you?
Yeah, I really love fairy tales, and it's probably because my mom used to read to my sister and I when I were little from a really big fat book of fairy tales. And then I just got fascinated with British and Irish fairies and fairy folk. Probably the earlier era thing comes from a childhood obsession with Little House on the Prairie.
I'm totally there with you. Oh my goodness. I grew up with that. I read all the books and everything, and I read all the later unofficial books and all the behind the scenes books.
I think for a lot of people that was their first fandom.
Yeah.
It's good, clean fun.
Yeah, and the descriptions they're so lush in those books and everything. It really takes you to that place. Awesome.
So was there something in particular that inspired Gold Sun?
So there's this older gentleman that walks past my house every day with his dog, and he has a walking stick, and he looks very stately. And one day I was looking out the window, and I just thought, what if he's a leprechaun on the way to bury his gold? Because that's how my mind works.
That's a good way to work.
And so when NaNoWriMo came along that became the theme of my story, the leprechaun that had to find somewhere to bury his gold, and it kind of evolved from that.
Oh, wow. So, yeah, you do NaNoWriMo every year, right?
Yep.
And was that like the Mermaid Sister? Was that also NaNoWriMo one?
Yes, it was. Yep, that was my 2012.
So you get the whole thing done in a month, or does it kind of carry over a bit?
The Mermaid Sister, the first draft that I did in a month, that was pretty much the book. I did some revisions, but the Gold Sun, I wrote actually in 2011 in NaNoWriMo, and then I wrote it in 2014 in NaNoWriMo, and then I revised it some more. So that one's been with me for a pretty long time.
All right.
Stories just won't let you go, you know?
And I wasn't going to let the leprechauns win. I had to beat the leprechauns.
Now, one unique aspect of the Gold Sun is that you use the idea of a chosen one in a really pretty negative way, especially at the start. You know, he's cursed to steal. You know, what kind of drew you to this type of story? Because, you know, usually we see chosen ones in Destiny as this very positive thing. But in Tommen's case, like, that's not a good thing at all.
No, it was a bad thing. I kind of think that it was some biblical imagery that kind of snuck in there, because the whole cursed at birth thing, like starting out bad and just having to fight to be good, and the choices we make and how we always have a choice whether to choose to do bad or do good. That really was part of Tommen's story. And then ultimately he had to decide what he wanted to do, whether he wanted to let the bad win or choose to go the other way.
Yeah, and that's a really powerful, like, shaper in stories, and that can be a really great way. Listeners, we talked about different ways of using destiny and fate, and one aspect of that can be, you know, how much you let that define, you know, how you're going to live your life and everything. And I have to compliment you. You did a great job showing him, like, the withdrawal symptoms and, like, the jonesing for it. Like, it really felt that powerful pull towards it, and that was really, really potent.
Thanks. And I also liked how Eve had the same. I mean, she started out the same. She had the same curse, but she also made choices in a different kind of way, whether she was going to do wrong with what she was given or not.
Yeah. I'm trying to avoid spoilers because, oh my goodness, halfway through this book, I just went, what?
Common reaction.
And then I said, oh, okay, it's going to go there. That's pretty cool. All right. This just suddenly went from being really pastoral and, like, really just, you know, chill, okay, to being like, wow. But no, readers, you'll have to figure out what that is, because I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah, we do not spoil here.
No.
We don't spoil here, but suffice to say, at the midpoint, you're going to be like, okay.
Just keep going.
Just keep going. I loved it. I was like, that's the best thing ever.
Thanks.
So, Carrie, other than the chosen one, are there other aspects of destiny and choice featuring in the story?
Well, I can't say too much that won't be very spoilery, but I guess there's kind of like the aspect of, like, whether you're going to use the talents that fate or God or whatever has given you for good or for evil. Maybe the destiny aspects of true love and whether or not you believe someone is for you, chosen for you. The main thing to me would probably be the question of, do your circumstances absolutely determine who you're going to become? And can that be overcome in your life? Or are you just destined to become one way from birth?
Yeah, and that definitely comes through. And I did like how, with those really heavy questions, you also have a really sweet love story in there going on. It lasts, you know, quite a long time, really. And, you know, showing how, you know, someone chose to wait for someone else for that really long period of time and everything.
Very long.
very long. Carrie, you had a rather unique way of getting publication that you could almost, like, say had some destiny involved in it. What was it?
So I wrote the first draft of The Mermaid Sister in 2012, right after my sister died. And there was a lot of my own grief and the grieving process when I wrote it. I think you can find that in the story if you read it. Mm-hmm. But I put it away after November because I just didn't want to look at it. It was too difficult. And I didn't think I was ever going to do anything with it ever. Because it was just too personal and too hard. But in the summer following, I picked it up on a whim and looked at it, and it struck me. It was amazing that it felt like I didn't actually write it, and I just knew there was something there. I had this feeling. So I started working on it, and I had my trusty beta reader go over it with me, and I did some rewrites and fixed some things. And then I just, on a whim, decided to enter the Amazon Breakthrough Novel Award contest in 2014. And the contest, they don't do it anymore, but the prize was a publishing contract with one of Amazon's traditional publishing companies that they have, and in advance. And I didn't really think I would win. I just wanted the publisher's weekly review of the manuscript you got if you got to the semifinal stage, because I thought, well, maybe they'll tell me what's wrong with the story and I can fix it and make it better. And I ended up winning the young adult category. And so the book was published then by Skyscape, which is Amazon's teen and young adult company. And it came out in 2015. Yeah. So that was something of a miracle, really, I think.
Yeah, that's definitely a different way of coming at the publishing industry. You know, we always talk about, you know, indie, self-pub, but like the idea of, you know, winning a contest and, you know, having your book judged in that way that's just a really unique way of going at it. And then is the Gold Sun also through Skyscapes?
Yes. Yeah. They had first dibs on my next book, so they just did that one for me also. Thankfully.
Yeah. And I think it's definitely just as good as that one, like in terms of that lyrical style and everything.
Thanks.
So do you have, Carrie, any advice for writers who are looking to incorporate the elements of destiny and fate into their stories?
I think you have to be really careful that you don't let fate or destiny be an excuse for things that your characters do or don't do. They still need to make choices. They still have to be proactive, or your reader's not going to be engaged and they're going to feel ripped off. You can't just let them float along down the river and blame it on fate. It's just going to be boring. You know, at some point the characters might decide they're going to surrender to fate or give in to destiny or whatever. But if the reader's not emotionally invested with them by then, they're just going to drop the book and think it's hokey.
Yeah.
So
characters can't be leaves in the wind.
That's right. And also I thought about, like, you know, it has to be believable in your world. If you have fate and destiny worked in as things in your world, it has to be a part of things from the beginning. You can't just like suddenly drop the giant eagles in to save the day and expect people not to get mad at you for dropping the giant eagles in, unless you're Tolkien, and then you can do anything.
I was going to say, yeah, he gets away with so many things in those books that you're just
he does.
We all love the eagles.
They're beautiful and wonderful, but if you do that now, you're going to get slammed on Amazon reviews.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Like it wouldn't work.
My 6-year-old would say the eagles are majestical.
Oh, they are.
So, Janeen, before I get more distracted, I think I'm going to toss the next question to you.
Sounds good. So this is where we want some spoilers, and this is kind of on you because I know some authors are like really hush-hush about their new projects, but we have to ask, what are you working on right now?
Well, it's another YA, and it combines elements of the Three Bears, Cinderella, and the Selkie legends, and it's set in a future Britain ruled by nasty fairies. To which my children say, "What is wrong with you?"
You know, and that's fantastic. Oh my goodness. So going for the future instead of the past, huh?
Yeah, I just thought that would be fun because I love Star Wars, and I just wanted to write a fun Star Wars-y kind of book.
I'm actually wearing my Star Wars shirt today, so.
Oh, I see that.
I was going to say, yeah, I got a Millennium Falcon one going on. Oh my gosh.
Hate.
Yeah, so definitely listeners, keep an ear to the ground for that one with, you know, futuristic British evil fae and all the in-between things of that.
And a magical hedgehog.
Oh my gosh.
There you go. Now, speaking of magic and random and things, Heidi, I believe you have a random question for our guests.
And it is really on theme for Cinderella in the future. Okay, this is a little complex, so you need to listen carefully, Carrie. This is the random question. You are the next Disney princess. What fairy tale is your full-length movie? And how would you use your new ability to control woodland creatures, including, I'm guessing, hedgehogs?
Oh my. Wow, I have to think of a worthy answer for that.
The hedgehog army is swarming.
Yes. Well, I'm a Beauty and the Beast girl, so I would say maybe Beauty and the Beast, only I would set it on a different planet populated by hedgehogs that Yes, my army of hedgehogs that would help me conquer all of the people that wanted to kill the beast.
So we're going to defend the beast with hedgehogs then.
That's right. Nobody can beat a hedgehog. They're all full of quills.
I'm going to say, Heidi, we're going to need to do a Throwdown episode in the future, of all of the sidekick characters in match-offs and see.
Well, the problem is I keep collecting new ones. I mean, I've got foxes, porgs, cats, dragons. What am I going to do?
Yeah, I got cat dragons and mini griffins and different things. And got hedgehogs.
It happens.
All right, Carrie. So where can our listeners find you online since they want to find out all the cool things about you now?
I have a blog at carrienoble.com, and I also have a Facebook author page, and I also have pages for the Gold Sun and the Mermaid Sister on Facebook. And I'm on Instagram at Carrie Anne Noble 7, and I am on Twitter at Noble Bat.
Noble Bat.
And bats are another story.
Now it's to the end, and you drop the bats on us.
Okay,
you never know.
Watch out for the bats too now. Okay.
Well, there's a bat in the Gold Sun.
That's true. Oh, he's awesome too. He's so cute. Feisty and curmudgeonly. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today, Carrie, and sharing all these awesome things about fantasy and destiny and fate and leprechauns with us.
Thank you for having me. It was fun to meet you.
Likewise. And Heidi, what's coming at us next week?
Well, next week we are having kind of a either or episode where we are going to be probably requesting you guys to send us some ideas for this. We are going to be comparing and contrasting, not really saying which is better, but saying the advantages and disadvantages and when you're going to want to use things like series versus standalone, first person point of view versus third person point of view. And we're going to take those ideas and just give you our preferences and our takes on where they work and where we like to see them.
Awesome. So listeners, be sure to post on Facebook or Twitter or anywhere where you can find us and let us know some of your either ors that you'd like us to discuss in an informed and thoughtful and occasionally silly manner because this happens.
Yep. I'm all for the silly.
And of course, also listeners, if you would love to give us feedback, which we always love as well, just shout us some love on Facebook, on Twitter, on SoundCloud, on iTunes, and all the other places where you may find indie book magic, including our website, because we have one of those. And for now, have a fantastic day.